Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderman Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak. Here. Shaplesky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Frankie.
Here.
Rote. Here. Stefanski.
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join us in the pledge, which will be led by Alderman Vitale this evening, and I'm going to ask for a moment of silence after the pledge for the victims of the shootings in Texas and Ohio over the weekend. Thank you. Move on to item D on our agendas. We have 3 items up for public hearing this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read public hearing item number 1.
Ordinance to amend sections 12.19 off-street parking, loading, and other site improvement regulations, 12.30 RE-1 residential estate district, 12.31 RA-1 residence district, 12.36 RB2 residence district, 12.37 RC-1 residence district, 12.40 C1 central business district, and 12.41 C2 neighborhood commercial district of the revised municipal code relative to short-term rental uses and updating definitions within section 12.06.
Thank you. Mr. Stiebel?
John, your microphone's not on, or it's not working.
Term rentals are typically referred to as Airbnb or renting a room for a night in a single-family home. That's what this public hearing is about, and also to bring it into conformance with the recent state law changes to short-term rental. We're also defining bed and breakfast. We're trying to differentiate them from STRs as well as tourist homes, and we're trying to use the state legislative language as the definition. And we're also talking about the licensing process, which will regulate things like should the property be owner occupied or not. Those will all be part of the regulatory process, which will be through the health department, which will be coming back at a later date. If the Common Council should approve these amendments, the staff will be working with the health department and the building department to come up with the regulations. And once we've got a draft, we'll have a public meeting to allow people to comment on the draft legislation for the short-term rental. As I mentioned, we're going to be updating all the definitions, including bed and breakfast and hotels. We'll be adding in the definitions of what a short-term rental is or a tourist rooming home, and also changing them from being special uses to be permitted uses in virtually all zoning districts except for manufacturing. The Planning Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and we've received no objection to date. If you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
Mr. Stiebel, I saw it was going to become a permitted use in residential units up to 4 units, like a 4-unit apartment building.
Yes.
What about mixed-use properties?
Just 4 units. 4 rooms can be used.
So 4.
It could be commercial down below.
Could be commercial down below.
And 4
and it could be
units
up to
above.
4 bedrooms or
4 bedrooms.
4 units.
4 bedrooms.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Stefanski?
John, when people would apply for this special use permit, it goes through the health department, so they have to be inspected in order to do that? Is that what we're getting at?
That will be what we will probably be recommending. We don't have those regulations. We'll have them shortly. But yes, that's what we want to, one of the things we want to accomplish is get them inspected.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council?
Mayor Devine,
Alderperson Reinke.
will these be regulated or city regulated?
City regulated
City regulated. So
through the
it's-
health department.
I see. Like group homes are state regulated,
Correct,
right? There is a difference. Okay.
correct.
Thank you,
Yes.
John.
Thank you. Any other questions from the common council? Seeing no more questions from the council, are there any questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 1? We ask that you come up to the microphone, please sign in either before or after your comments. Gotcha. We'll get you next time.
Louis Kubieski, 719 South 97th. I just have a question about wherever these things, are they going to be put on empty lots or next to an existing single-family, double-family apartments? What kind of conditions, where are these things going to be placed? I see there's 4 different divisions there, 4 different areas. So if, say
It'll
around
be in
State Fair
in
Park.
existing single-family homes.
So if I've got a single-family home and if I've got enough room to drop a cubicle in there, I could rent that out?
If you have a bedroom that you want to lease, this is part of it.
Do you have parameter dimensions requirements?
Those are coming next. This is just to allow for the zoning part of it. The regulatory process will come next to the health department.
So why do you have it split up by divisions among the city if all the conditions would have to be uniform by size, required, uniform by being there, so there's not vacant cubicles?
There probably won't be uniform regulations. That's still up to be determined by the council, but there probably will not be. That'll be a market consideration.
What would be specific around State Fair Park?
Any,
You have no control over that.
if this should be adopted, any single-family home could, and we don't know if it's, we've still got some regulation issues that the council has not yet worked out, but for example, they may say owner occupied, it has to be owner occupied. Then any owner occupied around State Fair Park or anywhere in the city that's not in the manufacturing zone district could rent out a room as under Airbnb or whatever they want to use.
Say I had some relative that wanted to come in town for a month. Then they go, I got the cubicle there or whatever. Do I have to ask for another extension? Or is there a deadline on how long you can live in one of these things?
It's,
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
I believe, sir, you're talking about a different idea. This ordinance is not about adding structures anywhere. This is not about accessory dwelling units or bringing in like a short-term rental separate building. This is about people essentially renting out their spare bedroom,
Like a bed and breakfast?
like a bed and breakfast, yes. This is not about bringing new structures in or anything on empty lots.
That would be a great clarification if it was stated that way.
Well, this is not about bringing in new structures. This is
Yeah.
just about people renting out a spare bedroom or that kind of
Because when you have,
existing space.
when you have 4 different divisions already planned out, and then it starts getting muddier and muddier and muddier. Whereas if you use the same terminology from the onset, bed and breakfast conditions.
We're just conforming with what the state is telling us, right?
All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any
Is there
other,
more copies of
the agenda? We'll get copies. Any other questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 1? Okay, we will close our first public hearing, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 2.
Resolution relative to determination of application for a special use permit for a proposed daycare to be located at 7601 West Beecher Street.
Mr. Stiebel.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property has been vacant for 4 or 5 years. It's been vacant probably 10 out of the last 20 years, so we're delighted to see somebody taking some action to look into it. A daycare center is proposed to be located in this building. Because the zoning is C2, it requires a special use, and that's the purpose of this public hearing this evening. The operator will be called Future Scholar Christian Academy, and they'll have 60 to 70 students averaging 4 weeks to 13 years old. The most differentiating feature of this was going to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week daycare facility, which I don't think we have very many, if at all, in the city. They'll have 10 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff per shift. The existing conditions will be upgraded to comply with the existing plan adopted back in January of 2012, and they'll be doing some more maintenance issues within the building. The ground floor will be the 8,500 square feet of daycare center, and then there'll be 3 apartments up above, and then there'll be 3 stall garage parking with 5 additional parking stalls on the site. They'll be dropping off around the area. They'll have limited drop-off on Beecher because of the bus stop in here, but they'll be dropping off in this particular area. 18 stalls would typically be required with the apartments and the daycare center. It's a computer impacted area, and we've waived those requirements in the past. There's the off-street parking will be in this area, and to the left here is the alley. The mode of transportation, interestingly enough, about 40% arrive by single-family car by their parents, 30% by daycare transport services, 20% of their customers walk, and 10% take the bus, which is kind of nice to be able to help reduce the traffic volume in that area. The Plan Commission has reviewed this project and has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If you have any additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebler. Are there any questions from the Common Council on public hearing number 2?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Stefanski.
So this is going to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
That is correct.
And what kind of requirements are there going to be for people coming at all hours of the night in a residential area, picking children up, dropping children off, things like that?
They'll certainly still have to comply with the city's noise ordinance, but that's an issue that we'll have to keep an eye on.
Okay.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
Yeah, John, I'm just going to piggyback on Alderman Stefanski's issue. I'm just trying to think, first of all, I'm glad that something's going in there finally. I think you mentioned the vacancy rate. I think it's been vacant 39 of the 40 years I've been in West Dallas, at least the commercial use. There was a short term, there was a daycare there for a very short time. But I have a real concern about 24-hour business in a very quiet neighborhood. I'm trying to picture the nearest 24-hour business to there. Might be Pick and Save over here on 67th and National. I'm just trying to, there's a couple bars in the neighborhood. But I'd like to see us kind of cluster our late night businesses together, places where, you know, if maybe even just, you talk about how their customers get there. I'm going to guess most of the people coming in the middle of the night aren't walking or taking the bus, you know, and not that it's not a safe neighborhood, it is. It's just the perception of this, you know, and the noise issue, you know, and the parking. I think that neighborhood's pretty well parked up at night with permit parking, and the lot's already parking short for the tenants and the employees. I'm just, you know, I guess I'd have a question for the applicant of how important that late night shift is to their business model. If it's make or break, I guess I could support it, but I'd rather not see it 24. Thank you.
Mayor Devine, I have another question.
Alderman Stefanski.
When you were showing up that map of where they can drop off and things like that, they're not dropping off on 76th Street, right?
No, because there's no parking on 76th Street.
Right. I just meant like for a bus. A bus isn't going to pull up, put their hazard lights on, and
Yeah, the bus is going to be on Beecher Street, right on the north side of Beecher.
okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Rote.
And John, you had mentioned that you couldn't think of any other 24-hour daycares. And I can't think of one, I don't think anybody on this council could mention. I think of another 24-hour daycare in the city. Just a comment, no response, but just a comment.
Very good.
Noted. Any other questions from the Common Council? Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience?
I haven't been here for a while. These are kind of fun. Louis Kobieski, 719. I worked for the city for a long time. 76th and 84th there are major problems for plowing. You can't afford to have something where you're dropping kids off, because parents, when they want to drop their kids off, they just pull over and drop them off. It is just an automatic. Unless you had a full-time policeman there that could give a ticket or tow them right there on the spot, they will be dropping them off on 76th and they will, or on 84th, and they will be dropping them off on Beecher. That's an automatic thing. I live on 97th and Schlinger. There's a daycare on Greenfield. They always pull over on the right side there and drop off their kids. It's no parking. It don't mean nothing. When the parent's dropping his kids off, they're trying to get to work, they drop them off. Me, as a past employee of this city, and I did a lot of plowing through there, that would drive me crazy. Because not only would you have to be going around cars, altering your plowing system, spreading, salting, like you say, 24 hours. Why do you have to have a 24-hour daycare? I mean, you're only having daycare. It's not a babysitting service. It's for you to go to work and make a living and then come back and pick them up. So are you going to have that many people there between 11 and 7 or 8? Because when you have major snowstorms, that's when all the work gets done. And if you've got cars coming and going, you can't get your work done. And you're at half staff now.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Kimberly Cosby, 9309 West Schlinger Avenue. I just want to say, for the record, that people work all different shifts. And this 24 hours could easily be for someone who has to be at work at 3:30 in the morning and go until 7, 9 o'clock in the morning the following morning. And I don't think that it will be 40 kids there at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. It might be only 5 or 10. So I think you should consider that and know that this, evidently, it must be a need for her to do that 24 hours because she has a need from her customers. So I just wanted you to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the director of this center. I'm not the owner, but I work with the other center that we have, and there is a need for a third shift. The reason we're moving, because we already have a small building that fits 30, and we have to grow. There is a need for first shift, second, and third. As far as our transportation, a lot of the kids will be getting dropped off by their parents, but we was thinking if they pull in, if y'all can pull it back up, because that's where the main door is at. We wouldn't use the corner door because of heavy traffic, and that's right there at the cross. So the parents will have to come in the back. We have a system where they will have to ring the buzzer. We will take the kids from there so that parents can get right to their cars. So we don't think that's an issue. Like the lady was said, third shift, it depends on the kids. If we got kids coming in at 12, we have to do the 24 hours. So we have to put that down by state law dealing with childcare.
Before you leave, can we have your name and address just for our official record, please?
I will, and my name should be on there. I'm Lottie Dorsey.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 2? Okay. We will close our second public hearing, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 3.
Resolution relative to determination of application for a special use permit for Anytime Fitness, a proposed health club to be located at 2227, 2229, and 2235 South 108th Street.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the northeast corner of Lincoln at Highway 100 is the Lincoln Plaza strip mall. And the proposal tonight is for Anytime Fitness to be located in there. Health clubs are a special use, and that's the purpose of the public hearing, is to provide for the special use. They plan on having between 600 and 800 members 24 hours a day, but their peak hours are 6 a.m. to 9 and 4 to 9. And this is Zone C4, which is heavy commercial, but it still requires a special use. They'll be taken up from Singha Restaurant and figure the hut here. These three facades will be converted into the athletic facility. Most notably, I think it's going to be your typical health center, fitness center, but it will have showers, and that's kind of the differentiation between many of the health club facilities. On the landscaping plan, Lincoln Plaza has been very good about upkeeping of all their landscaping, so no additional landscaping will be required, and all their parking requirements are currently met by the existing parking spaces within the lot. The Plan Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and if you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council on public hearing number 3? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 3? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 3. We will move on to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. This is where the Common Council may receive information from the members of the public during this 30-minute period. We ask that you keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes. And similar to our public hearing procedure, we ask that you give us your name and address for the record. If there's anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation, please come up to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Thomas Wolf. I reside at 2158 South 111th Street. I sent a letter to the full board and to the mayor. I'm apologizing now for calling him Mayor Levin instead of Mayor Devine. It was a autocorrect error when I sent it by email. So, last month was my first time coming to one of these council meetings. In the 22 years that I lived in West Allis, the only person I've really met in person is the mayor when he came to my house to get a signature to actually become mayor. So it was before he was mayor. I was a little disappointed last week when I was here with Alderman Barczak. He sent me an email after the email that I sent you. I'd just like to read a portion of it to you. And this was about the BP getting the license. He said, Thomas, I'm sure could have used your help when the License and Health Committee voted to increase Class A licenses in West Allis from 20 to 30. I was one of the only alderpersons that fought not to do that. I warned of expansion into gas stations and drugstores. I also fought against the license to the Citgo store. But I was the lone wolf. The play on words there is nice. Now we have a BP and Quick Trip wanting these licenses. As precedent has been set, the city of West Allis could, and as I warned at the meeting, could, not will, could be held liable. I would just like to say that's not what he said at the meeting. That portion of the meeting is on YouTube, and I watched it, and that's not what you said. The exact words that you said was, where is it? I think you were talking about how nice the beer coolers were, that when you went on your excursion and the things that you did. You said, I think they might be getting an attorney real quick and trying to figure out how they didn't get one and the other one did. That doesn't sound like could. That doesn't sound like might be liable. That sounds like a little bit of innuendo to the board and the people in there. It's a little bit of bullying to me, the way that you said it, and I was taken aback by that. I've been involved in politics a little bit in the past. I've been on boards. I know how it works. And I saw the game that was being played, and it just angered me. In the letter, you continued on, and you said, but now I am the bad guy, not the members that voted to change the quota and set precedent. This word precedent comes up. What was the precedent for years prior to approving these? You bring up the word precedent like, well, since we already set precedent, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But 1,400 people signed a petition that said, no, we don't want that. Many more called, many more wrote emails. That was just thrown under the table. You sat in this meeting before the License and Health Committee meeting, and you said, You said in here that that gentleman over there is, who's District 3? I don't even know who's in the district for BP. Well, who's the district for BP?
District
You said-
5.
Okay, you said that guy
Me
over
and
there.
Rosalie Reinke.
Okay, you said that guy over there is responsible for everything. I didn't go to the Licensing and Health Committee meeting. I simply watched it on YouTube the next day. And I was amazed that they talked for a little bit, and then they said, Alderman Barczak. And then you talked for 6 minutes and 37 seconds about nothing, about just how beautiful the coolers were and that they had a humidor. I was appalled, and I wanted to let you know that.
Mr. Wolf, I could just, I don't know if you're finished, but if I could just interrupt you for a second, just to remind you and everybody that during this portion of our agendas, we are not allowed to respond.
I know that.
Because it's not on the
I
agenda?
understand that.
Okay.
I'm being passionate, like you said, he appreciated my passion in a letter. I'm
Yes.
just being a little passionate
But
about it.
I'm sure Alderman Barzak would love to respond, however, he can't,
Right,
so.
I understand that.
All right,
He-
thank
He
you.
has my email.
Sure, thank you.
Says, not sure that makes sense. I appreciate your passion, as I had the same passion not to increase the quota and fought every license with no help. It is, and this is the kicker. It is extremely interesting to see the negativity once Walsh has got involved. 1,400 people getting involved in democracy is not negativity, sir. 1,400 people signing a petition, other people calling and writing emails is what's supposed to be happening here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else have citizen participation?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Alan Anthony Latona, and I live at 10211 West Greenfield Avenue, Lot 16 in Hillside Mobile Court Home. Now, I've lived there for 3 years. I lived at 6734 West Grant for another 10 years. And I have a strong history with West Allis through my father's business being located in the city of West Allis. At one point in time in the 70s, 6108 West Lincoln Avenue, 6100 West Lincoln Avenue, and he finally ended up at 8924 West Greenfield Avenue. His 3 sisters lived on 60th and Burnham. I've watched our city demise, and I've also watched our city grow. Mayor Devine, I give you a lot of compliments for what you've done and brought in. In council, I compliment you in many ways for the new growth that's here. I know both of these individuals because they both own businesses in my neighborhood. And it is my neighborhood. I shop at both stores. And they're both great people. And they have a right to run their businesses, and they all have a right to come to the council and petition for what they may want out of the council and due process. My issue is with what we want to change. When I was a child, a gas station sold motor oil, windshield wipers, maybe washing fluid, and a rusty old pair of, or a couple candy bars, Hershey's, in the back counter. And maybe some cigarettes, yeah. Yeah, that's why I like Walgreens. We care for your health, but have your cigarettes, you know. Sorry. And I respect the individuals that own BP. In fact, I've worked for them. I've done work for him. Again, this is my neighborhood. But I am opposed to any more outlets in the city of West Allis that serve any form of intoxication. We have enough. Guys, we haven't, ma'am, excuse me. We have enough. We really do. I want to tell you this story, and I think I'm going to stop with this. For 10 years, I dated a woman. We were not married, but we invested in real estate in West Allis. Owned some duplexes, 76th Street, Arthur Avenue. Lo and behold, we broke up, split the properties, and I moved to 6734 West Grant. And as a child, and remember, my father was just on Lincoln, 61st Street. My dentist was right on the corner. George Webb's was there. That used to be a White Hen Pantry, right? We're coming down Beloit, headed east, and my son starts to cry. He's 8 years old at this time. He's 18 now. He said, why did we move into such a poor neighborhood? He said that because of the plastering of the beer signs on that store. You know, there's that saying, you've seen that commercial, we get nose blind to socks or your son to smell at his room, right? I think we've gotten nose blind a little bit in West Allis to what we see on our storefronts. The soda signs this big. The beer, $9.99. We don't need that. You guys have worked hard to improve this city, and God bless you. You've done a great job. But all we do is bring a little more degradation, a little more ease. We want to be careful on what we turn new normal into. And I respect them. I really do respect you. And I like you. And I hope to continue to shop at your store. But more liquor outlets or beer outlets is not needed here. We've got a heroin problem. We've got an alcohol problem. We've got a poverty problem. We don't have an access to beer or liquor problem. On my street alone, there's Acropolis, or that across from Culver's. I can get beer there. I can go to Walsh's. I can go down to Kip's End. I can walk right to Olympia. 3-4 blocks later, there's another convenience store. I can buy beer there. There's liquor stores open from 9 to 9, which are well regulated. There's taverns in our town that are open at 6 a.m. till 2, and on Fridays and Saturdays until 2:30 in the morning. How much more access do people need? Well, I respect the store of BP doing their right to come to the council. I live here. My family grew up here. My father had businesses here. In fact, that sign is still sitting up on that store. We don't need more liquor. We don't need more beer. We need more of that good, positive development that you guys have been working on. I thank each and every one of you, and I thank the citizens for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation?
Hi, my name is Pooja Dhaliwal from 10910 West Greenfield Avenue. I've spoken about this so many times. I have researched a lot. And every time I research, every time I go online to find a study, and I just recently read a study from State of Philadelphia. They had the same situation. They started issuing liquor licenses and beer licenses at gas stations. The study is online. Please Google it and read the results compared to poverty, compared to the crime rate. You'll see all the numbers there. I'm not going to repeat the numbers. They're all online. Everybody can Google it. We know the connection between alcohol and beer sales and violence has been demonstrated in multiple studies. Although the reasons are complex, we know that where alcohol is more available, people drink more, and some of these causes lead into violent behaviors. Instead of finding ways to keep our minors away from liquor and beer, why are you more focused on creating more outlets for our children to promote underage drinking? And that too into the gas stations, which is like curbside liquor? Beer is not soda. Beer has alcohol in it. This will directly or indirectly impact the children in our community. As a matter of fact, when I speak with customers who come to Walsh's Beer and Liquor, and I ask them, I let them know that there's going to be beer at the gas stations. They say, well, we can go across the street to Speedway. I'm not going to go with my kids. With due respect to their business, they want to grow their business. That's fine. Competition is okay. But at the cost of public health, maybe we need to think about it one more time. Once you allow beer into a gas station, into one cooler, it'll go into 2 coolers, then to 3 coolers, 4 coolers, and slowly you will have a gas station converted into 50% beer store or liquor store, 60% liquor store, 70% or 80% over the years, not right away. How would the city control or have checks and balances in place to control or ensure that the limit that was approved is maintained in the gas stations? Moreover, allowing beer into one gas station means you are inviting all other gas stations in the city to start carrying beer, and you are inviting them to come and ask for a license. How many beer outlets do we need in West Allis? Or how much competition for beer do we need so that the beer can be sold at reduced prices? The 1,500 residents who have already shared their opinion about not allowing more outlets, I'm humbly requesting you to please again deny the license, or please look into factors or consider having a limit on whatever you approve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation?
This is getting to be more fun. Louis Kowalski, 719 South 97th. I've lived there since 1978. I used to shop at a stop and go type place. No gas, just sandwiches, 92nd and Schlinger. Now when I go in there, I buy cigarette paper. I buy pipes. I haven't been in that thing since it switched over. It's disgusting. That's the kind of stuff that sells. When a guy comes into town, I love Quick Trip. I can't wait for Quick Trip. My wife worked at Speedway Super America for 32 years. Both of them we can't wait for Quick Trip to move in. Because what used to be a flag station on Schlinger and 103rd, it's a crap hole now. When they built up on Trekker, you guys regulated how they could set the building. That cut their business down. Stations make their money on amenities, not on gas, because it's always a tight war on the gas. I want to go there for 99-cent bananas, fresh every day, 99-cent eggs. I had hoped they put in a bait station because we don't have one in West Allis anymore. Most Quick Trips up north have night crawlers and minnows. Great. And if I want to take a 12-pack of beer, so be it. But they are very well-run company. They're clean. Their staffs are always courteous. You don't have to wait in line forever because they staff their stations to take care of the business volume that they take. And you go by any Quick Trip, and they're well-maintained. You don't see any crapola stations like on 103rd and Schlinger anymore. That used to be a flag stash. That was $1 million station there. Nobody knew that, but it was. They pulled more money in there than you can shake a stick at. They don't anymore because you can't get decent help. And it's not the help that's not decent. Your managing staff is what keeps the station clean. Quick Trip in Onalaska makes sure that their stations are run clean. I go all over the state, and I'll stop at any Quick Trip over any BP or on any marathon station or anything, because I know they have everything that I'm going to want. They got fresh bakery, they got fresh eggs, they got everything that I'm going to want if I'm on a trip. I don't know. I've seen where I live go down the tubes, but that's a welcome improvement. I can't wait for it to open.
Thank you. It's citizen participation, so you participate however you choose.
I'm Sean Radecki. I live at 1419 South 80th Street. I'm pretty inflamed. My language might get inflammatory, but nothing worse than crap hole. I promise. We received a letter, everyone in our street, back in April, sometime in April. I don't know, it's not dated. You know, I'm a music teacher. I'm a musician. I teach grade schoolers music lessons. I teach first graders music lessons, and they know if it's important, you put a date on it. There's no date on this letter. First thing it communicates to me is it's not an important issue. Sometime after we received this letter, a majority of the people I've spoken to on our street received letters warning us about the facades of our property. I received one warning me about my peeling paint on my front steps. My paint wasn't peeling. I had scraped my steps to paint it. I take that right away as some kind of intimidation. Right away, I started speculating as to whether that project on 80th Street is going to be done on time or not. So 2 weeks before the project was due to be done, the project's not done. The streetlights come out. And we receive door hangers on our street that say, remember that letter back in April that said the street wouldn't be done in time? In bold print. However, the road will be open to traffic during the Wisconsin State Fair. When I say in time, I mean by the State Fair. That's the goal we were given. That's the goal that was stated to us. In the past week, past 2 weeks, we've received a lot of double talk. We've received a lot of what I interpret as intimidation and threats. A friend and I were standing on the street last week, and some little guy in a black pickup truck, a city truck, came by and he came to my house and scolded me in front of someone who was parking in my yard and told me if we didn't stop it, he's going to shut off the other end of the street. Now, I'm a musician. I only get paid once I've done my job. It amazes me that this little guy, who I'm sure gets paid 4 times what I do, who I pay, would talk to me like that. Can you empathize with this a little bit? Anyone? Talk to me. All right. Again, I'm not looking for any response except a stop to the intimidation and the threats and the petty indifference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation?
Yes, I'd like to, I'd like to parody what Sean just said. I'm Al Michaels with 1423 South 80th Street. It seems like they started this construction project in April. In the letter that Sean just referenced, they said they would work nights and weekends if there was any kind of delays because of weather or whatever the case may be. I get home at 5 o'clock. There's no one ever there. The first week they worked till 5. The rest of the week I talk to people that are there during the day. They work maybe a couple hours and then took off. No one has done any work except for taking out the street lights, which is security system because it's dark on our street. That's the only thing they've done in the last month. Our street looks like a war zone. It's all gravel. Our lawns are torn up. And like Sean said, we get intimidation letters saying, "Oh, well, you need a paint job on your house," whereas they don't care about the streets or the weed gardens growing in our lawn. Another thing, I talked to Alderman Weigel a couple times. This was like 2 weeks before State Fair. On Wednesday, I believe I talked to him, and he said, well, they're going to pave the street, but the sidewalk would not be done in time. They'll put cones over the holes and so people can walk and be safe. I talked to him again on Friday. Well, that plan changed. They said, well, they're going to leave the street, but they're going to work on the sidewalks. By Monday, so that's 4 working days, the plan had changed again. They're not going to do the street. They're not going to do the sidewalk. They're going to put temporary asphalt on the sidewalks so people could walk. It's like no one has a plan for this thing. This has been going on since April. It's now the first week of August. No one cares about our cars. As Sean mentioned, that engineer that threatened us, he comes down in a 2-ton pickup picking up dust and dirt, and he doesn't care about that, but if we have another car come down to park on our lawns, all of a sudden he threatens us. He says, you don't pay taxes on the money. How does he know? This guy was just threatening us and trying to intimidate us. So our main thing is we would like to know a result. When is this project going to be over with? It seems like it's never ending. That's the main thing. There's no communication with the citizens. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I was real short. To clarify, yes, this little guy in the pickup truck speculated as to our tax status. He's not my accountant. He's a failed engineer or whatever he is. I'm not interested in what he thinks about my taxes. That's not his job. My accountant gets his job done. I told you I'd be inflammatory. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other comments under citizen participation?
Hi, my name is Michelle Rushing. I'm at 2234 South 65th Street, and I'm actually here on behalf of BP. Now, this is my favorite gas station. We have many, many liquor stores that sell beer and even liquor, and BP is only looking to get wine, the soft stuff. I do understand about the lady saying about poverty and things like that, but I would think I'm a responsible individual, and there are many of us out there. I would like to be able to go to my favorite gas station and pick up a small bottle of wine to enjoy after a hard works week. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation. We will move on to item F on our agendas on page 2. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are listed on the agenda on top of page 2. Item G is the mayor's report. Just one quick thing is a reminder that Friday night is one more food truck Friday at the farmer's market, Friday evening coming up. Are there any reports from the alderpersons this evening?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I believe there's a modification to our minutes from July 16th. If the clerk would please read that.
Thank you, Alderman Lysick. I did notice a few corrections that we made today on the minutes. Page 5, I don't know if you want me to list them all. Okay.
Yeah.
Page 5, about third of the way down under license and health, Chairman Haas should have been Chairman Shaplesky.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Then skip all the way to page 16. And basically, I just corrected the verbiage of the denial for number 9, Shiana Her. The wording wasn't correct, so I changed it to, this matter was denied in a block vote. I think block vote was in there twice. Based on the habitual pattern of the violations and the committee's determination that the violations were substantially related to the licensing activity. It's basically verbiage that the attorney presented at the meeting. On page 20, under number 82, under the motion, added subject to necessary requirements, that was left off. And then on number 83, the motion was changed to, this matter was denied based on this location being problematic in past years when it was licensed for alcohol sales and consumption on premises, and it is not appropriate to continue alcohol sales and on-premises consumption at this location at this time. And then the final correction was the motion for adjournment was not originally included, and now it is.
So the meeting is still going.
Mayor Devine.
Still going, yes.
Alderman
I move
Lysick.
for approval of the minutes as corrected.
Second.
There is a motion and a second by Alderman Rote. Any other changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now go to item J. We have the beautification awards, item 5 through 8, and then item 9 will be sent to the city attorney. Shall we approve items 5 through 8, or?
Make a motion to place items 5 through 8 on file and send number 9 to the city attorney.
Second.
A motion with a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item K, we have no standing committee reports this evening.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in recess.